Serious, U.S. soldiers of Reddit, what do you believe or understand the Kurdish reaction to be regarding the president's decision to remove troops from the area, both from a perspective toward U.S. leaders specifically, and towards the U.S. in general? They feel abandoned the way the Arvans, South Vietnamese, felt when we pulled out of Vietnam. The Kurds helped us in our war against the Iraqi insurgency and in the war to exterminate ISIS. Now we're leaving them without support to be slaughtered by the Turks. This is a bad call and is wrong. Former Petty Officer First Class, United States Navy. Or the Hmong, Laotians, Cambodians, and other ethnic groups we armed in that conflict, trained to fight, and then abandoned. Or the Kurds 4 years ago. Or the Kurds 6 years ago. Or the Kurds 13 years ago. Or the Kurds. Prior to that, we were against the Kurds, like when the US sold chemical weapons to Saddam to gas the Kurds. I thought we sold weapons to Iraq to counter Iran. Halabja chemical attack took place at the end of the Iran-Iraq conflict on Iraq's soil against Iraqi citizens. Why we sold weapons, which used would break the Geneva Convention, was to counter Russian influence to Iran in the continued proxy war between the two powers. USIMJ Article 88 and DoD Directive 1344.10. Don't like abandoning our allies? Go vote, specifically to rearm Congress with war powers. I seem to recall an incredibly experienced and respected SecDef resigning after something like this.
#X200B, edit. I am hesitant to engage with this at all because A, I believe in charitable argument and it's clear that some of you don't, and B, I am an officer and could get held accountable by the USIMJ if I am not careful.
But I want to be clear, I support Article 88 and I bet some of you do too. Let's say you are not pro-Trump, easy to imagine. How would you feel about a large majority of the military coming out and making pro-Trump statements, in uniform, at official capacity, on taxpayer-paid time? Statistically, it's true that the military went overwhelmingly for Trump. How would you feel if the people whose job it is to inflict critical harm on the nation's enemies rogered up for one political candidate or another? That's not the country I'd like to live in. We serve the Constitution of the United States, not any one person. This is why SecDef Mattis, a consummate professional and a true believer in the Constitution, has been relatively quiet except on very specific issues. I hope we all see the benefits of the military staying out of politics. SF. SecDef resigning PBS.org. As a veteran, I can speak on this. Soldiers are held to a standard to not speak about elected officials. So, I think it's despicable. The Kurds have been a hard-worn ally of ours in the Middle East, being a stronghold against Saddam and ISIS. To leave them high and dry for personal gain for our president should be even more of a reason for impeachment. When Trump got elected and appointed Mattis as DefSec, I was so excited for our military. Since Mattis left the position, our military has been used as pawns with ignorance. The Kurds deserve their freedom and deserve to have an ally they can depend on who depended on them when times were tough. I'm out, but I deployed to Syria in 2017. They seemed to really like our support at the time. They'd even bring us hot food and cigarettes. We helped them gain a lot of ground by breaking what was essentially a stalemate in their push towards Raqqa. We only provided fire support, so it's always been them taking and holding ground. I don't know what they think of us now, because I'm not sure how important our recent support has been to them. It's not really my job anymore. Our presence meant that the Turks couldn't attack them for fear of accidentally killing us soldiers, and also the implied threat that if they ducked with our allies, they were fucking with us, and that wouldn't go well for them. As a former Marine, I just want to say that just because we serve doesn't give us some crazy inside information on international strategy or policy making. I've found that a lot of civilians think that being in the military gives you automatic access to sensitive data or a close perspective simply from being a boot on the ground. This is hardly the case for the mass majority of us. #X200B, it reminds me of a line from The Departed about state police: we are like mushrooms, mostly we are fed shit and kept in the dark. Honestly, you will all hate this. But I'll say it anyway. As a former soldier who fought in 2 18-month tours in Afghanistan, I'm tired of fighting other people's wars. That's all. I'm gonna add and edit BC Ducat. Here's some clarity on my service. I was National Guard. Signed up BC. I live in a hurricane-prone state and I wanted some real-life experience. When I was there at one point, fuck me if I'm wrong, don't quote me, 70% of the army there was reserve or ING. I don't know. All I know is that I served with those guys and they are some of the nicest, most hardcore guys I ever met. If I had to choose a random Kurdish soldier or a random US soldier to guard me while I sleep, I choose the Kurd. Anyway, I doubt anyone really knows the reaction in the future. Not unless they are high-ranking and still have close ties with them. Ex-Army here. We should never have went to the ME in the first place if we weren't ready to go the real distance. I am a US soldier currently in Kurdistan. Last night we got stopped at a Peshmerga checkpoint. The guard asked where we were from, and when the driver replied America, the guard laughed and said Donald Trump betrayed us again. He said it with a smile on his face and sent us on our way. His machine gunner in the back of the truck never batted an eyelash. The Kurds and the Pesh are fantastic people, and it is a crappy situation for everyone, but at least the guys on the ground realize it wasn't our call. When will we say enough is enough over there? Sorry for your loss, Kurdistan. I truly enjoyed my time there in 2005. We don't need another Israel, and I'm truly sorry, but my friends died there for what? To help? My oath when enlisting in the army said nothing about being the big dick military for a foreign power. I mean, yet here we are, and how many more must die before we mind our own goddamn business? Mildly friendly infantryman from 2002 on. The country wants the wars over there to be over, but every single time there is conflict, otherwise the country wants us to intervene. When some stupid illegitimate charity popped up for invisible children, people wanted us involvement. When Boko Haram was made public, we wanted put forth involvement. This is the price. This is what happened when we pulled out of Iraq, this is what we see now with Syria, and what will happen with Afghanistan. The emotional response is sure, this sucks, but what? What do you want to see? Longer occupation? My experience with Afghanistan, it doesn't matter one way or another, sticking around or leaving, it's lose, lose. So it sucks all around to leave a people who the region won't recognize as actual citizens or credit a state. Almost like people's reactions to our involvement commitment to Israel. But unless you want to commit to more time over there, unless you actually contribute to the US military or the DSCA, this is just a hot topic issue people will talk about that won't contribute to, nor should they open their mouths about it with the level of hypocrisy towards military involvement anywhere in the world. It sucks, they are good people, but war is a racket and exists when politicians fail at diplomacy. We shouldn't have gone into Syria. This is not our neighborhood. We've handed off responsibility to the Turks, and what choices they make are a result of our policy. But I don't like that people blame the USA for leaving. What do you want us to do? Either we're the world police, and we reserve the right to invade at will to kill who we need to kill for the sake of keeping the world a better place, or we're not. And if that's the case, I want us to be a superpower that only concerns itself with its continent and nothing much else. Bring our boys home. Active duty Army service member here. Not going to get political with this concerning American politics, but there are two sides to the story here, and I've informed myself somewhat on both sides. American media is wholly anti-Trump, and while I don't blame them, their opinion is tilted entirely against any decision Hess made. What people don't know about Turkey's incursion into northern Syria is they are attacking what they consider to be a terrorist organization, namely PKK, which is a group comprised mainly of Kurds. Likely, our leaders knew about this, and withdrew troops to get American lives out of harm's way. On the flip side, it absolutely does feel ducked up to abandon a group of people who pretty much single-handedly helped us defeat ISIS in the region. I agree that we should have considered other options. On the whole, I'm not going to criticize the decision to withdraw support, but I also want to express my support for the decision. I will remain neutral because there are likely factors going into the decision that I have no idea about. Nothing we did over there mattered, and nothing that we do in the future over there will matter. Can't even say we fought war for oil because we still pay more than double pre-9/11 prices. We got Saddam? Great, all the killing stopped. Oh wait. The entire region is so deep in civil unrest that nothing we were going to do short of genocide was going to stop future fighting in Iraq. Their problems aren't related to us in any way. When we left in 2012, it took all of 2 years for ISIS to pop up. You'd vomit if you saw how much us officers tried to politic amongst each other. Projects evaluated based on how good of a photo shoot they could turn into. Dangerous missions executed because we don't want to look like we aren't doing anything when evidence shows our patrols to be unnecessary. Pushing for deployment despite the unit failing every single readiness metric so the old man can get his deployment on his BC time. Have served in Syria. Kurdish commander I worked with extremely intelligent and knew the US military desired to stay and support the SDF. I stressed to him any pullout would not be on the military. Would say the leaders of the SDF understand it's because of Trump and still have close bonds with their US allies on the ground. For sure the US is still providing them arms and ammunition in the areas away from the border they are still working closely. Leaders on the ground I'm sure have stressed to the Kurds to just try to hold out long enough until Trump is gone. Edited to take out 2 personal details.